Touchdown, Alabama, let's get it.
The process, no one can stop this. Hottest show in the streets, I bet you can't top this. Rammer, jammer, yellow hammer, come see how we rock this. Alabama fans the best, there's no way you can top this. Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
Recruiting news and interviews, just sit back and watch this.
The process.
Welcome into The Process. I am your host, Justin Smith, the scouting and recruiting analyst, Touchdown Alabama magazine. As I said in the previous episode, The Process, we are currently in a dead period, which means that Alabama is not able to host any recruits during this week, but they are able to host guys on this weekend as this dead period comes to an end on January 17th. And Alabama is currently expected to host 3 official visitors on this weekend. And I want to dive deeper into those guys on this episode of The Process, break down what their official visits mean to Alabama on this weekend. I want to look at that exclusively on The Process on Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page. But before I get to that, I do want to give a congratulations out to the Alabama commits and signees who were awarded awards on today at the ASWA annual banquet. Alabama's 4-star athlete signing Christian Story was named Alabama's Mr. Football for the 2019-2020 football season. Story did lead the Lynette Panthers to a state championship on this past season. This was the second time that he has done so, as he led the Lynette Panthers to the second football state championship in school history. So a huge congratulations goes out to Christian Story and his family, as well as to the families of the other Alabama signees who did receive awards as well, including guys like 4-star linebacker signees Jackson Brandon and Demoy Kennedy, who are currently enrolled into the University of Alabama at this very moment. They are expected to play with Alabama in their annual spring game on A-Day, and they also are expected to go through spring training with the team. Braden and Demoy Kennedy was named the Lineman of the Year for their respective classifications. The Lineman of the Year awards given out to the top offensive lineman, defensive lineman, or linebacker in their respective classification, and Demoy Kennedy and Jackson Braden did receive those awards. Alabama's latest 2021 verbal commit, Deontay Lawson, was named the 3A Lineman of the Year. This is also the same award as Jackson Bryan and Demoy Kennedy, but Deontay Lawson won the award for the 3A classification. He is the Tide's latest verbal commit. So huge congratulations goes out to those guys, as well as to the other Alabama commits, signees, and targets who were named finalists for those awards. So I'm going to get the process started and talk about those official visits, as I said earlier. So with that being said, let's get the process started. Alabama will host 3 official visitors on this weekend. 2 of these guys are pledges to the University of Alabama at the moment. Kyle Edwards has signed to the University of Alabama. Javon Baker is verbally committed to the Tide at this point. Alabama will also host 4-star offensive lineman Georgia verbal commit Cedric Van Pran for an official visit on this weekend. And I want to start this conversation first off by discussing Javon Baker, who is verbally committed to Alabama at this very moment. Baker is one of Alabama's longest standing commits in the 2020 recruiting class. He had the opportunity to sign with the Crimson Tide in December, but decided to hold off his signing until February. He did express that he was still solid to Alabama after not signing with the Tide. His teammate is Jamil Burrows, one of Alabama's other 4-star defensive tackle verbal commits, who also did not sign with Alabama during the month of December, but plans to sign with Alabama in February. Burrows did express that he had shut down his recruitment 100%, and he is solid with Alabama after he did not sign, and Baker basically joined in on that and echoed that sentiment, saying that he's also staying with the Tide and sticking with the Tide as far as his commitment is concerned. It is good that Alabama is going to get him on campus before the month of February. I think this is a very special kid, a very tough wideout. He's not a prima donna by any means. He's a tough wideout with a dog mentality in him. He loves to compete. He did visit a couple other schools during the summer, and he camped at a couple of schools during the summer, and I think that has something to do with his competitiveness. Always wanted to compete, always wanted to show that he's better than the next guy. I think that has something to do with it, but I think it's huge that Alabama is getting him on campus right now, basically getting him the chance to interact with some of Alabama's commits and coaches, get some one-on-one time with Nick Saban and Alabama's wide receiver staff, and getting some good conversations going with Alabama's offensive staff as well. So it should be a good visit for Alabama and Alabama's 4-star wide receiver verbal commit Javon Baker. Something else to keep a note on as far as Baker's commitment is concerned. It is rumors spreading around that he is taking an official visit to Arkansas before he signs with the Alabama. He hasn't really had too much contact with Arkansas, but Arkansas does have a new coach. I think this is going to be a visit where he's just going to check out Arkansas. I don't feel at this moment that Arkansas is a huge a huge weapon against Alabama as far as them flipping Javon Baker from Alabama, him going to Arkansas. I think Alabama is in a good position with Baker, and I think they are going to get his signature once it's all said and done, but he does have an official visit planned to the University of Arkansas. As far as four-star running back Kyle Edwards is concerned, I don't think there's really any reason for Alabama fans to be concerned about him visiting anywhere else because he is signed to the University of Alabama. This is going to be one of those visits where he's going to come in and get a chance to connect more with the staff, get a chance to interact with the rest of Alabama's running back. Some of the early enrollees Alabama does have on campus, Jace McCullough and Rodell Williams are already on campus, so it's going to be a good chance for him to interact with those guys and build that relationship. Alabama did lose a running back and Jerome Ford to the transfer portal this week, so there is some room in Alabama's packed running back room. It did ease up a little bit when you lose Jerome Ford, who could be a good back for Cincinnati down the road. So Kyle Edwards is going to come in and interact with those guys and just communicate with Alabama's offensive staff the same as Javon Baker will do. So it should be a good weekend for Edwards. No reason to be concerned about Kyle Edwards visiting. Just a good chance for him to build a connection with the rest of Alabama's running back group. Alabama's most intriguing official visitor on this weekend, Van Pran. I got a chance to catch up with him at the Under Armour All-America game and practices during a couple of weeks ago in Orlando, Florida. I got a chance to talk with him. You guys check out that article on touchdownalabama.com. Cedric Van Pran basically talked about Pete Golding, how he liked his coaching style and how Pete Golding really will relate to him, basically pouring into those Louisiana roots, bringing up those Louisiana memories, connecting with him on the Louisiana front. So Cedric Van Pran is coming to the University of Alabama this weekend, and Alabama's defensive coordinator Pete Golding has something to do with that, as he is really recruiting the state of Louisiana, his home state, pretty hard. So Cedric Van Pran will be in Tuscaloosa on this weekend, a four-star offensive lineman who is verbally committed to Georgia at the moment, but he is looking at other schools. He was committed to Georgia, and he really committed to Georgia based off their offensive lineman coach Sam Pittman, who is currently moving to Arkansas. He's now the head coach of Arkansas, and I think that has something to do with him holding off his signing to look at some more options. And Alabama has always been an option, was one of his top options before he verbally committed to Georgia back when he committed. So Alabama is in the running. I think if any team was favored to flip Cedric Van Pran at this point, I think it will be Alabama, and Alabama's going to really push for him, showing him what Alabama is all about. Pete Golding is going to talk with him. Alabama offensive lineman coach Kyle Flood is going to interact with him. So Alabama will possibly add a fourth offensive lineman, or if Damian George, Alabama's three-star offensive lineman commit, who is entertaining other schools, if he happens to not go to Alabama, happens to not sign with the University of Alabama, Cedric Van Pran can be back up, or if Damian George does decide to come on, they possibly could add both of those guys. So something to keep a note on is Cedric Van Pran visiting Alabama on this weekend. That will do it for this edition of The Process. Thank you guys so much for joining me on Touchdown Alabama's YouTube page. Be sure to subscribe to Touchdown Alabama on YouTube. Download the Touchdown Alabama app. It is available on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Download the Touchdown Alabama app to stay updated on everything Alabama football and everything Alabama football recruiting. Pick up a subscription at touchdownalabama.com. We are gearing up to release our annual print magazine issue, which Tua Tagovailoa does grace the cover. So be sure to subscribe to Touchdown Alabama to make sure you get that keepsake for Alabama football history and the history that Tua Tagovailoa did leave at the University of Alabama, as well as some interesting stories, including some interesting recruiting stories will be included in that issue of the magazine. So thank you guys so much for watching The Process on today. I am Justin Smith, the scouting recruiting analyst for Touchdown Alabama magazine.